List of Betta varieties. Best Betta tanks. A complete buyer's guide. 2 Betta fish put inside on a separate tanks. I've tried to put together the most up-to-date list possible of the various types of bettas. Several varieties may be known by multiple names throughout the world, so in those cases I defer to the most common usage. My descriptions of these varieties are not meant to convey show standards, however. It's merely meant to give someone new to fancy bettas a solid idea of the many fascinating variations they might consider for their tank. Betta fish colors. Bettas come in a rainbow of solid colors, from bright reds all the way to the deepest blacks and the purest whites. Of course, many Betta fish are not simply one color but show several distinct areas of pigmentation. I cover some of these cases in the patterns section. Some color varieties typically have a two-toned appearance, where the body and fins might be different colors or shades, like the chocolate Betta. Here's the widest recognized list of Betta's colors I could assemble, including facts and information about each color variety and any health concerns that might be known about them. Albino Betta fish, Siamese fighting fish, half-breed between half-moon and elephant ear fins, isolated on black background. Beautiful movement macro photo. An albino Betta completely lacks any pigmentation. An albino Betta should have whitish to clear colored scales and fins, and pinkish or red eyes. Their muscles and organs may be faintly visible through their scales. In the wild, albino animals are at a great disadvantage, because the UV light from the sun causes a high rate of damage, often resulting in blindness and cancer. They frequently have other mutations and health problems as well. True albino bettas are so rare, it's actually questionable if they exist at all. Most reports are probably either clear cellophane or actually white varieties instead. They are incredibly difficult to breed and have a low survival rate. Clear cellophane. Close-up art movement of Betta fish, Siamese fighting fish isolated on black background. Fine art design concept. The clear or cellophane Betta, as they're often called, also have whitish to translucent scales. Sometimes you can see the pinkish color of their muscles and internal organs through their scales. Their fins are usually clear to opaque. Their eyes should be a solid black. Unlike albino bettas, clear or cellophane bettas do have one of the 3 pigments in their chromatophores. The trait isn't expressed, and so the fish appears nearly colorless. White Betta fish, Siamese fighting fish, Betta splendens isolated on black background. White bettas should have solid white scales and fins, although the fins may be more opaque in some specimens. Unlike the cellophane varieties, a white betta's body should not look pinkish. This might not sound very impressive, but the detail you can see on the body and fins of a pure white Betta is absolutely stunning. Black Copper black Betta fish. There's a few different varieties of black Betta fish, and they have subtly different appearances. Black Milano Bettas have the deepest, purest black-colored bodies and fins. They are the opposite of an albino, in that they have an overabundance of melanin pigments. This variety is often sterile, and can have health issues. Black lace Bettas have a dark body, but not as vivid as the Milano variety. Their fins are usually entirely or partially cellophane colored. They are usually fertile. Black orchid Bettas are a type of bicolor crowntail, with a dark body and slight amount of iridescence. Some may also be crossed with marble patterned Bettas, giving them a metallic or red overtone on their bodies or along their fins. The Black Devil and Black Ice varieties are derived from black orchid crosses. Black copper Bettas are descended from a mix of a fertile female black Milano and a copper Betta. The offspring have a mix of deep black and metallic scales. Blue. Close-up of blue half-moon Siamese fighting fish in a fish tank. Blue is not a very common color in nature, but Betta fish are an exception. What's funny is that blue colors are not caused by pigments, but by the shape of the pigment cells and scales, and how the light reflects off of them. Usually fish only show bits of an iridescent blue, but Bettas can be a deep and vivid shade of blue. The colors of blue Bettas you'll most commonly see includes steel blue Bettas, which are a grayish-blue color royal blue bettas, who have a deep, dark blue body, and fins turquoise blue bettas, with a rich, vibrant color and a hint of green. Copper. Copper betta fish, Siamese fighting fish on black background. In dim light, a copper betta looks brown or tan colored. But once you turn on the light, you'll see the sparkling iridescence. These fish have highly reflective metallic scales and fins. Chocolate. Betta splendens on black background. A chocolate betta has a brown or tan body that fades to an orange or yellow colored fins and tail. These are usually a bicolored variety of betta. Green. Green Siamese fighting fish isolated on blue background. Green bettas are usually solid colored, but you have to angle the light just right to really see the green. Their bodies and fins may appear black, turquoise or blue at certain angles. Nearly all green bettas have a metallic wash overlaying their color as well. Mustard gas. Beautiful Siamese fight fish or exotic betta splendens on black background, isolated. Mustard gas bettas are very common and typically appear as a bicolored fish with a blue or green body that shades to orange or yellowish fins. The edges of their fins may also be shaded to black. They resemble the chocolate betta but lack the brown bodies. Pastel. Fancy half-moon betta on black background. A pastel betta has a pale pastel shaded body and fins with a whitish wash overlaying the primary color, giving it a paler appearance. Orange. Fighting fish, betta splendens, fish with a beautiful array of colorful beauty. Solid orange bettas are fairly rare, and are usually a bright tangerine color. They are much less common than red or blue bettas, but more common than the green or purple bettas. Orange Dalmatian bettas are a pale orange color with bright orange, almost red spots along the fins. Purple. Purple betta fish in aquarium. Purple bettas are one of the rarest colors, and if you find one it will probably be the most expensive betta fish you could buy. True purple bettas are almost unheard of. Many fish have purple colors shading to blue, red or lavender. Violet and pale lavender colored bettas are slightly more common but still a rare find. Red. Red Siamese fighting fish. Red is a common color in the fish world, and one of the most common colors of betta you can get. Many bi-colored and other patterns of betta have red highlights. Yellow. Yellow betta fish in black background. A yellow betta should have a bright lemon-colored body and fins. Yellow bettas are not terribly common and a bit challenging to breed. A pineapple betta is a yellow or orange betta with black outlining their scales so they look similar to a pineapple. Patterns and scale designs. Bettas come in an ever-widening variety of patterns, from solid-colored fish to those who look decked out for a party. Some fish have a prominent metallic wash overlaying their scales, giving them a shimmering appearance. Others may have scales or fins edged with a metallic overtone. The most common patterns and scale designs are: solid. Aquarian fish swims in aquarium water. A solid-colored betta is a single color. The color may appear deeper or more intense along the body than the fins because the pigments lie deeper, nearer their muscles. Solid bettas are very beautiful fish, and make a good choice for breeding stock. Bicolored. While a true bicolored betta will have a body that's one color and fins that are another, some people use the term bicolor to refer to any fish with two colors. This is one of the most common patterns to see in betta fish. Butterfly. Colorful betta fish. Butterfly bettas have a solid colored body with their fins shading to cellophane. In higher quality specimens, the line between color and cellophane will be stark and very noticeable. They may be 2 or 3 colors, with 1/2 to 1/3 of their bodies showing each color. Although this variety can also be bred with the marbled trait, it's considered undesirable in the betta show world. Cambodian. Cambodian-style bettas are a classic bicolor fish with a white or pale pink body and deep, blood-red fins. This type used to be quite common but has become much harder to find recently. Dragon scale. Betta red dragon crowtail CTPK male or placat fighting fish splendens on black background. This is a trait that was intentionally bred into the Betta splendens line from wild bettas. Dragon scale bettas have thicker scales, so you can see the outline of each scale on their body and head. It looks like the fish have been covered in jewels, similar to scale mail armor. In fact, dragon scale is a particularly beautiful trait, and can mix with solid colors or other patterns of pigmentation. Depending on the mix, a dragon scale betta can be quite the showstopper. Marble. The marble is a unique betta with one very frustrating quality. The marble trait doesn't show up right away. It's activated suddenly during the fish's lifetime, at random. It causes their primary color to darken and splotchy pale patches to develop on the body and fins. You'll start out with a fish with one color or pattern of colors, and suddenly they change. It can be a very dramatic shift, too. This trait is undesirable when bred with certain others, like the butterfly betta. Betta koi half-moon placat HMPK male or placat fighting fish splendens on black background. Koi patterned betta are related to marbles. This trait is most commonly seen in placat-type bettas. Koi betta have been bred to look similar to the koi fish often seen in Japanese ponds. Mask. A mask betta has a head that's the same color as his body. Most bettas have a head that is a different color than their bodies, unless they are bred for the full or half mask gene. Half mask bettas have half of their head colored like their body, and half in another color. Grizzle. The grizzle betta is a variety that has a 50-50 split between a lighter and a darker color. They often appear to have been painted with fine brush strokes. Tricolored, multicolored. Red and blue fighting fish from Thailand. Tricolored bettas have an uneven mix of 3 colors along their body and fins. Multicolored bettas have a mix of at least 3 colors, and can have more than 3. The mix tends to be random and unpredictable. Piebald. Siamese fighting fish, betta isolated on black background. A piebald betta has a white or flesh-colored face and a darker body. These fish don't carry the albinism trait, unlike the piebald coloration in other animals. Betta fin and tail types. Now that I've passed on everything I know about the colors and patterns of bettas, it's time to talk about their fins. Those fancy tails are one of the key features that draw people to these magnificent fish. Let's talk about the betta varieties in terms of their fin configurations. Veil tail. Red veiltail male betta or Siamese fighting fish in planted tank. The most common type, and the variety most of us think of when we hear the word betta, is the veil tail or VT. The VT betta has a long, drooping tail that streams out behind him when he swims like a sail dragging on the seas. These fish are beautiful, fertile and generally healthy, although they may nip at their fins when stressed. Comtail. Beautiful of Siamese fighting fish on black background. A newer variety is the comtail, which may also be called the half-sun betta fish. Instead of having webbing that extends on the tail from ray to ray, the comtail has a dip between each ray. This gives the tail the appearance of a wide-toothed comb. This variety is generally fertile and healthy, but the tail sometimes suffers from a lack of support. Some comtails develop droopy tails, which are not very attractive. This isn't a health concern, but may make your fish look a bit sad. Crowntail. Crowntail multicolored betta fish. Another related variety of comtail is the crowntail betta. These fish also have a webbing that does not extend all the way down each ray of the fin. But instead of looking like a comb, their tail looks spiky, or like an upside-down crown. Like the comtail, the crowntail is prone to breaking the rays of their fins, and even the shorter-tailed females can suffer from a bent tail. But otherwise, crowntails are usually healthy and fertile. They also don't usually nip at their own fins, since the webbing is reduced compared to other bettas. Delta. Delta tail betta fish in white background. The delta betta is an interesting variety. When they fully extend their tails, it makes less than 180-degree angle from the base of the tail to the edges. They are named after the Greek letter delta, because their extended tails are triangular in shape, with straight edges. Deltas are a popular and beautiful variety of fish, and come in a wide selection of colors and patterns. They resemble the half-moon bettas, and it's actually difficult to tell them apart. Both the Delta and Super Delta are usually healthy and no more prone to fin rot than other varieties. The Super Delta is similar, but their tails are wider and extend to almost 180 degrees. Double tail. Betta fish or fighting fish, half-moon double tail, on white background. Also known as twin-tail betta, the double tail has wide and long anal, dorsal and tail fins. The tail fin looks like it's really two separate tails, hence their name and nickname. These fish are especially showy and uncommon, and may be considered a rare variety. They usually come in a fairly wide variety of colors and patterns too. Double tails are the result of a mutation, and these fish suffer from ill health as a result. They often have problems with their swim bladders and are prone to fin rot and other diseases of the fins. They are some impressive bettas, but they usually don't live as the other varieties. Half-moon. Siamese fighting fish. The half-moon betta, as I previously mentioned, looks nearly identical to the Delta variety. A true half-moon has a full 180-degree tail and can be any color or mix of colors. Their tail makes a D shape when viewed from the side. They are usually considered a long-finned betta variety, except when they are specifically listed as a placat betta. Next to VT variety, the half-moon is the most common type of betta. You'll see many of these fellows in pet stores and aquarium shops. They are prone to the typical betta health problems but are otherwise considered a healthy variety to own. Over half-moon is a variety of betta where the tail extends past the 180-degree mark. Rosetail. Power color betta fish, rosetail betta fancy, isolated on black background fine art concept. If you prefer bettas with the longest, most outrageously wide tails possible, then you'll likely love the rosetail. These bettas have the longest, most elaborate dorsal, caudal and anal fins in the betta family. Their fins are so wide they almost look slightly rumpled along the edges, similar to a flower petal as it starts to wilt. The downside to this variety is that it tends to suffer from ill health. The fins are prone to disease, and sometimes these fish nip at their own tails too. Since they have been heavily bred for these flashy fins, they may develop tumors and issues with their swim bladders. Placat. Siamese fighting fish, betta isolated on blue background. The placat is a newer variety of betta that's recently become a phenomenon in Thailand and other parts of Asia. These fish are bred from the Thai Siamese fighting fish line, and have been crossed back with their wild Betta splendens forebears. Placats have the same color and pattern variations seen in the long-finned varieties of Betta, and many also have similar tail configurations too. But the placat's tail is much shorter and resembles the wild type instead of the fancier, domesticated bettas. Novice betta keepers often mistake male placats for female long-finned bettas. Since the placat has been selectively bred from hybrid species of betta, they have a different behavior profile than the other bettas in this list. Placats are more aggressive, and usually cannot be housed with other fish. They also prefer fresh food and many will not eat commercial diets. They are typically healthy and don't suffer from problems with their fins like the long-finned varieties do. Feathertail. Betta fish, Siamese fighting fish, Betta splendens isolated on black background. Similar to the rosetail, the feathertail has long and wide, ruffled fins. Instead of being a half-moon shape, though, their fins and tail have triangles along the edges, which give them their feathery appearance. They are less common than the rosetail, and come in a variety of colors and scale patterns. Like the rosetail, the feathertail is prone to health problems. They often nip at their tails, and swim bladder problems are common. Round tail. Siamese fighting fish fancy betta. Similar to both the half-moon and the delta, the round tail is a popular and common betta often found in big box pet stores. Their tails don't come from their bodies in a straight line, like the delta, and have a rounded appearance instead. They are usually healthy fish, but are still prone to the typical betta diseases and problems. Spade tail. betta fish fight in the aquarium black background. The spade tail slightly resembles the VT betta, but has a definitively spade-shaped tail. They are available in a wide assortment of colors and patterns too. Otherwise, they are generally a healthy variety with no special or unique health concerns beyond the typically betta problems. Elephant ear, Dumbo. The elephant ear, or Dumbo bettas, are not classified based on the shape or length of their tails, like most of the betta on my list. Instead, it's their pectoral fins we're interested in, what you might think of as the fish's arms if they were human. Abstract close-up art movement of betta fish, Siamese fighting fish isolated on black background. Fine art design concept. Elephant ears have broad and long pectoral fins, which makes them look like they have gigantic ears and are flying through the water with them. They usually have shorter tails, though. Elephant ears are the one variety where fish keepers tend to prefer female betta fish over males. Since the males don't have the elaborate tails common to the other varieties, other than the placat, of course, they tend to look rather drab. The extended pectorals on the females, however, really makes them stand out. This is a great option if you'd like to have a stunning female fish in your betta tank. Conclusion. As you can see, there's a lot going on when you break down and consider all the different types of bettas. While different varieties may be prone to health issues, based on their genetics and tail configurations, keeping your tank warm and clean will go a long way to maintaining a healthy betta fish. Feeling a high-quality diet will also help them shine with color, literally. Whether you prefer to choose your fish by color, intricate scale pattern, or for their amazing and beautiful fins, there's a betta on my list that's probably perfect for your tank. Tell us about your betta fish, or post your questions in the comments. Betta fish, Siamese fighting fish with green plants. If you're still unsure which variety to choose, consider these factors. If you want a fish that's pretty but inexpensive and easy to find, stick with a more common color and variety, like the veil tail, the crown tail, the delta, the half moon, the bicolor, red, orange or blue colors. If you want an amazing fish that will be the showcase of your aquarium, look for the rose tail, the feather tail, the double tail, the elephant ear, female, the multicolored, tricolored, the dragon scale. If you want a fish that's less likely to have problems with their fins or swim bladder, or other health problems, consider getting the placat, the delta, the moon tail, the spade tail. I hope you enjoy watching this presentation. See you again in my next upload video.